Hello, everybody. I'm Lisa Shield, and I want to welcome you to Finding the Guardian of Your Soul. And this is where successful women learn how to date from the heart, not the head. So if you're ready to let go of games, get emotionally naked, and attract a truly high caliber man to spend your life with, then you are in the right place. No games, no strategies, just real straight talk about how to find what I call the guardian of your soul. So today I want to talk about integrity in dating. And I think that this is so important. There are so many ways that I hear women complaining about how out of integrity men are when we're out of integrity too. And it's important as you date to keep your side of the street clean. And as Don Miguel Ruiz, my former teacher, spiritual teacher, said, it is important to be impeccable in your word, because when you are impeccable in your word creates your reality. And so when you keep your side of the street clean, when you take responsibility for what you're putting out in the world, that starts to come back to you. So let's first of all look at what integrity is. I think that's really important. And it's the alignment of your thoughts, words, and actions with your values and truth. So let's say that again. It is the alignment of your thoughts, words, and actions with your values and truth, even when it's hard and even when no one is looking. So in dating, it means that you're showing up honestly and consistently. You're not putting on a performance. You're not people pleasing or to be pretending to be someone you're not. It's about owning your desires, setting boundaries with grace, but clearly, and choosing partners and behaviors that reflect your deepest truth. So it isn't about being perfect, but it is about being real, responsible for yourself and your actions, and whole. So I want to just get into a little bit of straight talk. We need to stop pretending that we're innocent and that guys are the problem. We ghost them and then complain about being ghosted. We string men along because we don't want to be alone. We say we're looking for love, but a lot of us are looking for someone to rescue us, someone to make us feel beautiful, someone to make us feel wanted or enough. We flirt with men that we don't respect just to get attention, or, we pretend to do things we don't like so guys will like us. Have you ever done that? Gone along with something that you really don't like just because you wanted a guy to like you? We fake orgasms, we fake interest, we fake cool girl energy. I had a client who was so darling. I loved her, and she used to always say, yeah, I used to be great at playing the cool girl, but it didn't get me anywhere. We sleep with men way too soon, hoping it's going to speed things up. We're giving the men what they want, hoping they'll give us what we want. And then we get hurt and act shocked when it doesn't turn into love. We say we don't want anything serious when we're already planning our weddings and naming our future kids. Have you ever done that? We act casual when our hearts really crave commitment. We play games with men, we test them, we withhold from them, we manipulate them, we can get jealous, we punish men for things that other guys did, our former boyfriends, our ex-husbands. We don't communicate directly, we make them guess, and then we get mad at them when they don't get it right. And the whole time we tell ourselves that men are the problem. And here's the truth. We're the problem too. And until we clean up our side of the street, until we're going to keep wondering why, despite all our efforts, we keep repeating the same patterns and attracting the wrong men. Now, I know I did this. And if I look back and I'm being honest with myself about some of the things I did when I was dating, I was guilty of all of these things too. I was insincere. I was unclear. I was afraid to ask for what I wanted. I played the victim a lot when I dated. I remember once, it was when I first started online dating. I didn't know anyone else who was doing it at the time. And this was my very first, this is true confessions. This was my very first date. There was this kind of cute guy, and I think he lived in one of the beach towns outside of Los Angeles. I lived in LA, and I agreed to meet him early in the morning, like around 8 o'clock I think it was a Sunday morning. And I agreed to meet him for breakfast. And I said I would drive out to where he was. I didn't know any better. And I agreed to go out to where he was. And I wound up standing him up. And the truth was, I was a little concerned about going out, getting dressed, getting up, getting dressed, and going out at 8 o'clock in the morning to meet this guy when I'd never been on an internet date before. And so I think it was around 7:30 that I called him and I said I was running late. And then he said, well, when can you be here? Because in Los Angeles, it can take a long time to get anywhere. And I told him I didn't think I could get there until 9 o'clock. And then he said, well, why don't we just reschedule? Why don't we just find another time? He said, I'll call you back later because I have a very busy day. And then he called me back a few minutes later and he said, I'm not going to call you back. I was ready. I was up. I was dressed. I planned my day around this. And I just wanted to be honest with you. At least he was honest and he didn't just shine me on and didn't say anything. He called me and he said, I was up. I was ready. We had made this plan and you didn't show up when you said you would. And so he called me out because I was out of integrity. And had I been honest and had I been more emotionally mature, I probably would have said, look, I want to be honest with you. This is my very first date. I haven't gone out with anyone. And I woke up this morning and I started to have second thoughts about driving out to the beach, thinking, is he going to show up? Am I going to make this whole trip out there? And I started to have doubts. I was feeling insecure. And that's why I wanted to talk to you before I got in the car and drove all the way out there, just to confirm things. But I was out of integrity. I wasn't speaking my truth. I wasn't being emotionally naked and honest. And I essentially stood him up. So we all do these things, and sometimes it can be very innocent. Sometimes people are careless and they make plans and then they just blow us off. But the truth is, and what I would always remind myself when things like that would happen is, first of all, I don't know what's going on the other side. I don't know what's going on with that other person. Just like this guy didn't really know what was going on with me. Had I been more in my heart, had I been more emotionally honest, it may have turned out differently. It may not have. He may still have called me back and said, I was there and I was ready and, this wouldn't work for me. But at least I would have felt better myself if I had been honest with him that I was having doubts. So a lot of this isn't just about the other person. It's also about how we feel about ourselves as we go through this journey of dating. And it's really important that you take a step back and not just point fingers at men and say they're the problem, because we're out of alignment too. One of the things that I work on with the women who go through my Emotionally Naked Dating course is that we really encourage them to be the change that they want to see in the dating world. So if there's something they don't like, they need to start to show up that way. If the men aren't being emotionally honest with them, then they need to be emotionally honest with the men. For example, it's very easy to sit there and feel victimized because you think a guy ghosted you. Well, if a man ghosts you, you're not a victim. You can send him a message very often. Sometimes they just, unlike you, or they take you out of their inbox. I can't remember the term right now, but they cut you off, so you can't say anything. But sometimes the lines of communication are still open. They haven't blocked you, and you can still send a message yourself. You don't have to put your power in a man's hands and say, oh, well, he didn't show up for the date, and so, he ghosted me. You can still write a message and say, I don't know what happened. I was waiting to hear from you, and you never wrote. I thought we had a date planned, and I just wanted to wish you well. I just wanted to say that I was disappointed, or I was bummed. We use the word bummed, not disappointed, but I was bummed when I didn't hear from you, because from my understanding, we had a date scheduled, and I don't know what happened, but I just wish you the best. And sometimes the men do write back and apologize and say thank you and I'm sorry, and at least you leave it on a better note. But no matter what, when you take the high road, you feel good about yourself. And that's the most you can really ask for, is to say, I'm dating with integrity, with love, with compassion. I don't know what's going on the other side. Not everybody is a jerk. Not all of these guys are, just dating a million women, and who knows what happens. We all have complicated lives and a lot going on. And especially when you meet somebody on a dating site, while I'm not justifying anybody's bad behavior, we just don't know what we don't know. So all we can do is advocate for ourselves and do the very, very, very best that we can. But to sit back and say, I don't do those things, and feel superior, and how dare he, I think it's important to look at where you may be out of integrity in your love life, not where you think men are, but where you are, because that's really the place to start. Because when you're out of integrity, even just a little bit, you start creating chaos, and chaos comes from a lack of clarity. So your heart is saying one thing, but your actions are saying something else. So like for me, I just told that guy that I got a late start. I woke up late and whatever, and I made excuses for myself. And I wasn't being honest with him. So I couldn't just say to myself, well, he was a jerk because he called me back and said he wasn't going to pursue anything with me. I wasn't honest with him. And if I had been, at least I would have known that I had opened my heart. And if he had felt compassion for me, and if he had seen my authenticity, then he may have said, all right, let's give this another chance. But it's important that you look at whether or not you're sending out mixed signals to men. Like I said in the beginning, you're doing one thing, but you're wanting a different result. You're not being upfront. You're not being honest. You play games. You're manipulative. You get jealous. You do all of these things, and then you expect men to show up for you in integrity, but you're not doing the same. And when you do that, it's kind of like you're walking around with a big invisible sign that says, I'm not being honest with myself. Come mirror that back to me. So when you're out of alignment, right? When you're out of alignment, it creates chaos and confusion for you. You stay too long in the wrong relationships, you chase men, you hope, you settle, you spin out, you attract men who are emotionally unavailable or vague or inconsistent. And it's really, if you check yourself, it's because you may be showing up that way too. So you have to be careful, because very often what you're putting out is what you're getting back. We once had a client who couldn't understand why men were always coming on to her sexually. And her thing was that men always wanted sex. That's what they wanted from her. Well, she happened to be a very beautiful woman, but she also dressed in a way that was very sexy. And when we told her she might want to tone it down, especially in the beginning on the first few dates, it just didn't click for her. And she said, well, this is my style and this is how I dress. But she was sending mixed signals to men, and then she was getting upset when men were responding to how she looked. And so she was out of integrity, because she was sending a message that she was a very sexy girl, and the men were picking up on that and reacting to it. You have to look at how you're showing up. So when you start to show up in integrity, and this is so important, you stop attracting men who are playing games, because you're not playing them either. And they can tell. Men can tell a woman who's not a game player. They will try to hook you too. They may try to push your buttons or see, if they can flirt with you or drop little hints about, what are you wearing or whatever, or what are you doing right now, and see how you respond. And then they can take that and run with it if they think that you take the bait. But when you're not playing games and you're above board and you're a straight shooter, they're going to figure out very quickly that that's not who you are. So you're going to turn off the wrong men, but you're also going to encourage the right men, right? When you stop sending mixed signals, your nervous system calms down. A lot of you are very anxious, right? You don't know, because you're not showing up in the right way. But the more you start to align your words, who you are, with your values, your actions and your values align, and you start having clearer and clearer boundaries, and you take responsibility for how you're showing up, you start to see things more clearly. You start to be able to tell who that person is on the other side. But when it's all muddled for you, it's also very difficult to see who that man is sitting across from you. So when you get in integrity, you date from a place of alignment, not desperation. And you can feel the difference between something that's real and something that just looks good on paper. I call them shiny pennies. So you also, when you date in integrity, men can feel that, especially high caliber men. And you become the kind of woman a high caliber man can fall in love with. One of the things we were talking about the other day on a Q&A call in my program is, I just lost my train of thought. We were talking about how different it is when you become a woman instead of a little girl. And one of the things women comment on often when they go through my course, They will say, Lisa, I really grew up in your course. I thought I was such a hotshot in my business and my career. I thought I was so grown up because I have all these grown up responsibilities. But what I learned in your program is that I was not emotionally mature, especially with men. Especially with men. Your program taught me how to be a woman, not a girl. And it's okay to have the qualities of a girl. I mean, if you were to see me with my husband, I can be very, my little girl can come out to play, but I'm a woman and I take pride in being a woman. And I feel that being a mature woman is the sexiest thing of all, not being a little girl. I'm not interested in a boy and a girl. I'm interested in being a woman who attracts a man, a real man. And a real man wants a real woman. And a real woman has integrity. And high caliber men, they can tell a woman of integrity. When I was coaching one-on-one back in the day, I used to spend some time going through the women's inboxes. So I would look at the messages that she was sending and receiving online. And they would very often complain about how the guys didn't follow through, they ghosted, they didn't really write much in their messages, or how they would just drop the communication. And then we'd go into her inbox, and there were so many incomplete communications in her inbox where she dropped the ball. And she would have a million excuses. Well, I didn't like this, or he didn't ask me any questions, or this, I had too many messages and I couldn't get back to everybody. There would be a litany of excuses. But she needed to look at herself and realize that on the other side of that email that she never answered, or that message that she never took the time to answer, was an actual guy who might have been feeling like she ghosted him. A guy who was wondering what happened. Where did she go? Could he have reached out and said, hey, where did you go? Absolutely. But my point is, and I think you get it, we dropped the ball too. So you need to look in the mirror and you need to ask yourself, and this is my challenge to you, am I showing up in dating the way I want a man to show up for me? Because you don't get to call in a true partner while you're ghosting, manipulating, withholding, or settling. You don't get to play games and then sit back and get angry at men for not showing up in the way you want them to. So you cannot attract what you want. You can't attract real love while you're faking your way through dating or pointing fingers at men. Remember, Don Miguel said, be impeccable in your word. 12-step programs, they say, keep your side of the street clean. And this is not about being perfect. It's about being in truth. It is about cleaning up your act. And the more you do, the more you up level how you show up in dating, the more quality men you will attract into your world. And we see this all the time with our clients, all the time. We get them beautiful photographs, just absolutely gorgeous photos. And then my husband writes these magnificent poetic profiles that make men cry. And the response is night and day. No matter what you think, the response is night and day. And those profiles, the way they're written, are so beautiful. And they speak directly to men's hearts. And they weed out the game players, the manipulators, the narcissists, and they attract these really beautiful, high caliber, quality, kind-hearted men. So when you walk in truth, love shows up in ways you never could imagine. So you've got to be emotionally available, grounded, and honest. And there's no shortcut. There's no hack. There's no way around this. It's really about being in integrity. And I will tell you, especially now, especially in today's world, with everything that's going on, it is a scary time. And the more integrity we bring to this part of our lives and to the whole of our lives, no matter what's going on all around us, the more aligned we will feel because we're living in truth. We're living with compassion. We're living with integrity. And we can feel good about how we're showing up. So what if the relationship you're dreaming of, the man who sees you and values you and loves you at the soul level, what if he's not really that far away, but he just can't find you when you're out of integrity? Because those men see right through the games and the manipulation. They've been around the block. They may have fallen for it when they were younger, but they pick up on it. These men are sharper than you think. In fact, I remember I once went to a therapist. I was very envious of a friend of mine. She was about 14 years younger than me, and I had just gotten out of my marriage. And she and I went out. We were dating, she was like 21 and I was 34. And she really had a way with men. And I went to my therapist and I said, I'm jealous. She can wrap a man around her little finger. And my therapist looked at me and she said, Lisa, is that really what you want to do? Wrap a man around your little finger? And she said, I don't think you would respect any man you could do that to. And she was right. I wanted to have that power over men, but I wouldn't have had respect for a man I could manipulate like that. And I wouldn't have trusted a man if I could have done that to him. So men can see through us too. If we're acting like little girls, if we're anxious, if we're looking to be rescued, if we're out of alignment, out of integrity, they can see right through us. So look at your inbox, write to all those men, even if you don't want to see them. If they've written nice messages to you or they've been in touch and you dropped the ball, go back and just clear out your inbox and just say, hey, life got in the way. I'm so sorry. I realize it's out of integrity not to have responded to your message. And I don't think we're a match. Or would it be okay if we picked things up? I'd love to see if maybe we can get a date on the calendar. But clean out your inbox. Look at where you're out of integrity. Take that finger that you may be pointing at men and turn it this way. We're not being perfect here. We're not looking for perfection, but we are the mirror, right? Everything. The world is reflecting back to us who we're being. And so if your dating isn't working, if men only want you for sex, if there's a pattern that's repeating, look at yourself and ask yourself, where might I be out of integrity? How might I be putting a message out into the world that this is being mirrored back to me? And if you do that, you are going to start to attract better men. You're going to start to get clearer and clearer and clearer. You'll be able to read people sooner, and you will attract the guardian of your soul. Thank you for listening. I'm Lisa Shield. I show women how to date with integrity. This is a spiritual path. Calling in love is the spiritual path. And so embodying these spiritual principles, it starts with us. We don't attract what we want, we attract what we are. Wayne Dyer. So please come back and hear me again. I'm here on Thursdays at 10:30 Pacific time, 12:30 Eastern. I also do a broadcast with my husband called Getting Inside the Right Male Mind, where I probe his mind so that you can all learn about how high caliber men think from the mind of one of the most wonderful, or the most wonderful, beautiful, high caliber man I've ever met, my husband, Benjamin. And I also have a 12-week course called Emotionally Naked Dating. If that's something that interests you and you feel like you're really ready to just get this solved and attract an amazing high caliber man, and you want to stop wasting time trying to figure this out on your own, the time you spend listening to my podcasts and my Facebook Lives and YouTube Lives, you could be with your guy. So let's get this fixed. Go to lisashield.com, click the button all over the page, and you can watch my free presentation, which will lead you to signing up for a love strategy session with me or a member of my team to talk about how we can help you. Thank you. I send you so much love. Come back and see me again soon, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.